I still hear the laughter. It wasn't loud or cruel at first. Just the easy, familiar chuckle of people who thought they were teasing the family failure. But that sound cracked something deep inside me, and I knew nothing in our house would ever feel the same again. My name is Fatima Khan. I'm 26 years old, the older daughter in a simple, loving home in Islamabad. For as long as I can remember, our days moved like the steady tick of the old wall clock in the drawing room. Every morning I woke to the smell of Ami's chai boiling on the stove, cardamom and ginger drifting through the corridor while Abu read his newspaper at the table, glasses perched on his nose. I used to leave for my accounting job at 8 sharp, laptop bag over my shoulder, the cool morning air brushing my face as I walked to the bus stop. 6 months ago the firm closed. Overnight the salary stopped, the routine vanished, and I became the girl who stays home. I didn't mind the change at first. I helped Ami knead dough for fresh roti, the flour dusting my wrists like soft snow. I sat with Abu in the evenings, balancing his shop ledger on my lap while the ceiling fan whirred above us. I told myself this was temporary. I sent out resumes every single day, the blue glow of my laptop screen keeping me company long after everyone else had gone to bed. The house still smelled of love. Slow-cooked dal, jasmine from the garden, the faint trace of Ami's rosewater after she prayed. Felt safe. Then Saima brought Ahmed home. My little sister, 23, bright-eyed, always laughing, had met him at her school where he sometimes supplied stationery. He was 29, tall, spoke in that smooth, confident voice that made Abu nod approvingly. Businessman, he said, adjusting the gold watch on his wrist. He brought boxes of mithai on his first visit, kissed Ami's hand, and told Saima she was the luckiest girl in Islamabad. We all believed him. Why wouldn't we? He laughed at the right jokes, helped Abu carry the heavy gas cylinder without being asked, and looked at my sister like she was the only star in the sky. But small things started to shift, the way the air changes before rain. The first time he stayed for dinner he asked me, voice light, "So Fatima Baji, any interview calls yet?" I smiled, said I had 2 lined up. He nodded, but his eyes lingered a second too long on my empty plate. A week later, while I was washing dishes, I heard him tell Saima in the next room, "Some people just aren't made for the 9-to-5 struggle, you know?" Saima giggled like it was harmless banter. I told myself I was being too sensitive. After all, he was family now, or almost. Then came that Friday evening. Ami had made her famous chicken karahi. The kitchen smelled of sizzling onions and fresh coriander. The whole family was gathered. Abu at the head of the table, Ami serving with her usual quiet smile, Saima beside Ahmed, her hand resting lightly on his arm. I sat opposite them, trying to focus on the food. Ahmed leaned back, wiped his mouth with the napkin, and said it loud enough for everyone to hear. "Yar, I don't understand these unemployed types. They just sit at home, scrolling phones, expecting everyone else to carry the load. Like some girls I know, educated but zero hustle." He looked straight at me. The room went quiet for half a second. Then Saima laughed, nervous, quick. Abu chuckled. "Ahmed beta, times are hard." Ami gave a small, uncomfortable smile. Even our visiting Kala joined in, covering her mouth with her dupatta. The laughter rolled over me like warm water that suddenly turned ice cold. I felt my throat tighten. The karahi on my plate blurred. I wanted to disappear, to shrink into the chair, to become as invisible as they clearly thought I already was. But I didn't say a word. Not then. I simply folded my hands in my lap, felt the tremor in my fingers, and swallowed the burning shame. Because that was only the beginning. That night I didn't sleep. The laughter kept replaying in my head like a scratched cassette tape. Every time I closed my eyes I saw Ahmed's easy smirk, Saima's quick giggle, the way Ami's hand paused midair while serving more roti, as if she wanted to say something but chose silence instead. The house was quiet except for the slow drip of the kitchen tap and the occasional scooter passing outside on the street. I lay on my side, staring at the faint rectangle of streetlight on the wall, feeling smaller than I had in years. The next morning Ahmed came again. He arrived around 11 with 2 paper bags of fresh samosas and that same confident smile. Saima ran to open the gate for him. I heard her voice bright and happy through the open window. I stayed in my room, pretending to scroll job portals, but really just listening. After a while Ami called me out. "Fatima, beta, come have samosa." Ahmed brought them specially. I went. I sat at the far end of the sofa, took one samosa, bit into it slowly. The potato filling was still warm, the pastry crisp, but it tasted like cardboard. Ahmed was telling a story about how he closed a big order with a school in Rawalpindi, how the principal shook his hand twice and called him the future of stationery supply in the Twin Cities. Everyone laughed at the right moments. Then, casually, he turned to me. "Fatima Baji, you should try selling something online. These days, even housewives are making locks with just a phone. No need for office, no boss, no timings. He said it kindly, like helpful advice. Sima nodded enthusiastically. Yes, API. You're so good with numbers, you could do accounts for small businesses or something. I looked at her. My little sister. The one I used to braid hair for. The one who cried on my shoulder when she failed her first board exam. Looked back at me with nothing but affection. She didn't see the insult wrapped inside the suggestion. Or maybe she did and chose not to notice. I forced a small smile. Maybe. I'll think about it. But inside something hardened. Over the next 2 weeks the comments kept coming. Small, wrapped in concern, always said with a smile. Still no luck with jobs? Don't worry. Allah will open a door. Ahmed's friend is looking for someone to manage his warehouse accounts. Should I ask? Every time I answered politely. Every time I felt the sting a little deeper. And every time Sima laughed along or changed the subject quickly. Then one Sunday afternoon I came home early from visiting a cousin. The drawing room door was half open. I heard voices. Ahmed's low laugh, Sima's soft murmur. I was about to call out when I caught my name. Fatima just needs to accept it, Yar. Some people are meant to stay at home. She's lucky she has parents who still feed her at 26. Silence. Then Sima's voice, quieter. Don't say it like that. She's trying. Trying isn't doing. Look at you, you finished your bachelor's of education. Got a job in 6 months, now you're engaged to me. That's what hustle looks like. Another pause. Then Ahmed again, softer, almost tender. I just don't want her dragging you down after we're married. You deserve a life without carrying dead weight. I stood frozen in the corridor. My heartbeat was so loud I thought they would hear it. The plastic bag in my hand, containing the mythi I'd bought for Amy, slipped a little, crinkling. I backed away slowly, barefoot on the cool tiles, until I reached my room and closed the door without a sound. I sat on the edge of the bed. For a long minute I didn't cry. I just breathed, in and out. The fan above me clicked once as it completed a full turn. Outside, a crow cawed twice. Then the tears came, quiet, hot, sliding down my cheeks and dripping onto my dupatta. That was the moment I stopped feeling ashamed and started feeling angry. The next evening I did something I hadn't done in months. I opened my old laptop, not for job applications this time, but for research. Ahmed had mentioned his business often enough, names of schools, areas he supplied, even the warehouse he sometimes complained about being too small. I started searching. Google, Facebook pages, business directories, old tender notices from schools. Piece by piece, a picture began to form. His big orders were mostly one-time supplies from 2 years ago. The warehouse turned out to be a small rented go-down listed under his cousin's name. And the gold watch? I found the exact model on Dara's, discounted last Eid. Not exactly the mark of a thriving businessman. I didn't tell anyone yet. Not Amy, not Abu, not even Sima. I just kept collecting. Quietly, calmly. The way water gathers behind a dam before it finally breaks. I didn't rush. That was the hardest part, waiting. Every time Ahmed walked through our gate with his easy stride and that gold watch catching the sunlight. Every time he kissed Amy's hand and called Abu Uncle G with perfect respect, I felt the anger coil tighter inside my chest. But I kept it coiled. I smiled when I had to. I passed him the plate of biscuits. I said, "How's business?" And listened while he spun the same stories about expanding to Lahore next month. I kept gathering. One Tuesday morning I printed everything I had found. Old tender documents from 3 government schools showing his company had supplied stationery only once, 2 years back, and never again. A screenshot of his Facebook business page with the last post dated 14 months earlier. A photo I took myself of the warehouse. A single locked shutter in a narrow gully behind G9 Markaz. The paint peeling. No name board. No trucks. Nothing that looked like a thriving supply business. I even found his cousin's name listed as the actual owner of the rented space. Quietly, I slipped all of it into a plain brown envelope. That Friday evening the whole family was home. Amy had made biryani, saffron threads glowing in the rice, the house warm with the smell of cloves and fried onions. Ahmed arrived at 7, arms full of gulab jamun boxes from a famous bakery in F7. He hugged Sima from behind while she set the table. She laughed and swatted his hand playfully. Abu was in a good mood, talking about how the new shop signboard looked beautiful. Everything felt normal. Too normal. After dinner, we all sat in the drawing room. The ceiling fan spun slowly. The old wall clock ticked. Ahmed was telling another story. Something about a principal who wanted 5,000 notebooks by next week. When I stood up, "Ahmed," I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. Sima tilted her head, curious. Amy's hand paused on her dupatta. Abu lowered his glasses. I walked to the side table, picked up the brown envelope I had placed there earlier, and handed it to him. "Open it." He laughed once, short, uncertain, then tore the flap. As he pulled out the papers his smile faded. Page by page his face changed. First confusion, then recognition, then something colder. The room became so silent I could hear the neighbor's television through the wall. Saima leaned over. What is it, Ahmed? He didn't answer. He just stared at the printouts, jaw tight. I spoke again, voice calm, almost gentle. You told everyone I'm unemployed. You said I have no hustle. You said I'm dead weight. I looked at Saima, then back at him. But you never told us your business closed down 2 years ago. You never told us you're working part-time at your cousin's photocopy shop. You never told us the watch is fake, the stories are old, and the only orders you close these days are small stationery runs for pocket money. Ahmed's hands shook slightly. The papers rustled. Saima whispered, Is that true? He looked at her, then at the floor. No smooth answer this time. No confident laugh. Just silence. Emmy stood up slowly. Beta? Ahmed tried. It's not like that, Auntie. I'm rebuilding. I just didn't want to worry anyone. Abu cut him off. Voice low but firm. You sat in my house. You ate my food. You looked my daughters in the eye and lied. For months. Saima's eyes filled with tears. She looked at me, then at him, then back at me. API? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I wanted you to see it for yourself. I said. I wanted you to choose. Ahmed stood. I should go. No, Abu said. Sit. But Ahmed didn't sit. He walked out. Past the sofa. Past the family photos on the wall. Past the gate without another word. The front door clicked shut behind him. Outside, a dog barked once. Saima started crying then. Quiet, broken sobs. Emmy pulled her close. Abu sat heavily, staring at his hands. I stayed standing, the envelope still in my grip, feeling the weight lift off my shoulders for the first time in months. The next morning Saima came to my room. Her eyes were red, but steady. I broke it off, she said simply. I told him never to come back. I nodded. She sat beside me on the bed. For a long time neither of us spoke. Then she rested her head on my shoulder, the way she used to when we were children. I'm sorry, API. I laughed. I didn't see. I put my arm around her. You're young. You trusted love. That's not a crime. 2 months later I got a call. A small accounting firm in Blue area needed someone part-time to start. 3 days a week, flexible hours. I went for the interview in my simplest shower kameez, answered every question honestly, and walked out with the job. The house feels different now. Quieter but warmer. Ami still makes chai every morning. Abu still reads his newspaper. Saima still laughs. Lighter now, more careful. And when people ask how I'm doing, I tell them the truth. I'm working. Slowly. Steadily. And that's enough. Sometimes I think about Ahmed. I don't hate him. I don't wish him harm. I just hope he learns what I learned the hard way. Words cut deeper than silence ever could, and the truth always finds its way out. If you've ever stayed quiet when someone tried to make you feel small, if you've ever carried shame that wasn't yours, ask yourself this one thing. What would change if you finally decided your worth wasn't up for anyone else's laughter? I decided, and everything changed. Thank you for listening to Broken Trust Stories. If this story touched something inside you, leave a comment. Tell me what you would have done. And if you want more stories like this, hit that subscribe button. We'll keep sharing the truths no one else wants to say out loud. Until next time, take care of your heart. Carries more than people realize.